Oh my goodness. I tell you, the gale force winds are really blowing up just outside my doorway. I'm just right across from the wild Pacific Ocean, and it's pretty cold out there today. It's really raging. Anyways, I'm Patrick Michael Karnahan, and I'm your host today, and we're doing the 3 o'clock semi-quasi-live podcast here. I'm at the foot of the Lost Coast Range in southern Humboldt County at my house right across from Black Sands Beach, and we have snow on the upper peaks right on the ocean, and it's really raging out there today. So today we're going to enjoy a little shanty music and stories. Yeah. Little concertina there. So today's topic is sea shanties, and we do a little live podcast here on Tuesdays. Normally James Dean Nelson would be joining me, but Jim was frightened to drive up from San Francisco. It's a bit of a drive to get here onto the coast on the ocean, especially with a little snow up on the road getting down to the ocean. So he won't be joining me, but hopefully he'll be back with me next week, and we might have another feature of the Black Irish Band. Possibly Dave Rainwater will be joining us for this little quasi-live podcast. Well, it's the talk of the news the last week, let's face it. Sea shanties are everywhere now. This whole TikTok fantasy where you have lab-recorded shanties has gone viral, and they're talking about it everywhere. Now, long before this craze took place, the Black Irish Band, which I play with the last 30 years or so, us boys have been belting these songs out, so it's kind of old news to us. But recently, younger people have found an interest in it, and it's all over the internet. And where did we get inspired? Over 30 years ago, people like Stan Hugel, who's the shanty master, who brought a lot of this to all the groups, including the Clancy Brothers, the Dubliners, the Irish Rovers, and one of my favorites, the Kingston Trio. So shanties have been around for a little while. So let's digress now and talk about the shanty. Shanties are usually call and response songs. They're associated with maritime work on board sailing ships primarily, but sometimes also on steamships, depending if you had to stoke a boiler on a steamship. But mostly it was the crew aboard a large sailing ship, usually a 3-masted or 4-masted ship, and crew members would have to go aloft. That means up, and they'd have to lower the sails or bring them up. This is before we had automatic sail lowers. So they had to get up there on the yards and do all that work, and they needed music, songs to synchronize the workers. There would be a call from the shanty man and a response to crew as they worked together. Some shanties could be long, some could be short, depending on the work that needed to be done on the ship. So right now I'll do one of the older ones that the group I play with, the Black Irish Band, have been doing for the last 30 years, and on this one I am the shanty man. So here we go. It's called Holloway Joe. And if you want to sing along, way Holloway, we'll Holloway together. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. Way Holloway, we're bound for better weather. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. So anyways, you grab your rum today. I guess it's rum. And I tell you, it's pretty cold right across the street on the Pacific Ocean today. So drink some rum, and shall we have at it? Aye. Oh, when I was a little boy, my mother always told me that if I did not kiss the girls, my lips would all go moldy. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway together. Hummy. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. Way Holloway, we're bound for better weather. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. King Louis was a king of France before the Revolution. King Louis got his head cut off and spilled his constitution. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway together. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. Way Holloway, we're bound for better weather. Way Holloway, we'll Holloway Joe. At first I met an Irish girl, she was fat and lazy, Then I met an Irish girl, she done near drove me crazy. Way haul away, we'll haul away together. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we're bound for better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Belay. So I was a shanty man and you were singing along, and we were probably up aloft lowering some sails. Now there's a myth about sea shanties, mostly because of the current popular craze that all shanties were sung by the Scots and the English and the Irish. Well, that's not true. The Yankees, us Americans, we had our fair share of shanties. In fact, a lot of songs that the English groups and Scottish groups are singing out there originally came from American whalermen or merchantmen on sailing ships among the sea. So a lot of these are American shanties, but it really didn't matter because depending on what nationality you were, if you heard the melody and had a gist of a song, you would change it for your own folks. If you're Norwegian or a Swede sailorman versus a Scots versus an American sailorman. Shanties were borrowed by all nationalities, and just because you hear an English accent on there, as Scots or Irish, that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that had them. We all had sailors on the sea. And the Americans, of course, gave us the clipper ship, which was a mighty powerful invention back in the day. And also American inventors gave us the steamboat. Robert Fulton invented it many years ago. And they first started applying the principle of the steamboat to sailing ships long before the 1850s. The first versions relied a lot on auxiliary sails. So you'd have a ship that was part sailing ship, and then they'd have these huge paddle wheels on the side of the ship. A lot of times they'd use just the steam just to get them in and out of the harbor, or if there were doldrums and they needed to move forward and couldn't rely on the sails. Which brings us to the next song that I'll be introducing. In the band, I've written most of the original maritime ballads, and in the last 30 years we recorded 2 principal albums of maritime songs. The first was recorded back in 2000. It was called Into the Arms of the Sea, which was both traditional sea shanties, four-bitters, which are sea shanties set to melody for entertainment purposes, and then original ballads. Now, this song that I wrote is called The Brother Jonathan. I originally wrote it as a sea shanty to be sung by workers on a crew. But then I turned it into a four-bitter for entertainment's sake. And it tells a story. The Brother Jonathan was a steamship. That's right. And it had auxiliary sail. It was built back in the 1850s and was christened the Commodore. Now, the Brother Jonathan was mostly used in the 1850s to take gold seekers who would arrive at the Isthmus of Panama over there in the Gulf of Mexico side, and they would cross over that short stretch of land, which is very dangerous because of malaria, the mosquitoes, and then they would expect to book passage to San Francisco to get them up to the gold fields of California, where I'm originally from. So the Commodore was a very popular ship, and it was one that you would want to book passage on. But now by the 1860s, just after the Civil War time period, the Brother Jonathan, which was christened later, they changed names on the ship, had the paddle wheels on the side, was called the Brother Jonathan. They renamed it, and they were using it for the trade between San Francisco to Portland, all the way up to Vancouver, British Columbia. All right, well, the ship was pretty worn out, and on her last voyage, which is going to give you the whole story right here if you listen to the words of the song, she steamed out of San Francisco Harbor bound for Portland, Oregon. It was in July. This is back in the mid-1860s. Now, the Brother Jonathan was pretty worn out at that time period. A lot of wood, some steel. The ship was falling apart. And the captain, I believe his name was DeWolf, had complained to the shipping company, and he said that, I don't feel comfortable taking the ship out. I don't think she's seaworthy. She's listing to one side. We've overloaded the ship. And of course, the captain was arguing with the company, and the company said, well, if you have a problem with it, there's at least a half a dozen other captains would gladly take your place. So DeWolf did it because he needed the money, of course. And so there was a little greed there. So the brother Jonathan steamed out of the harbor. There was some soldiers on board, some ladies of the evening, some dignitaries on board, as well as there was some gold and some coins on board the ship. So she steamed out of San Francisco harbor there, all the way bound to Portland. But unfortunately, just on the border there between California and Oregon, tragedy struck. And the rest of it is in my original song. And now this song can be found, if you want to hear the full version, the original version, on our first album recorded back in 2000, entitled Into the Arms of the Sea. It's called The Ballad of the Brother Jonathan. I'm going to perform it live for you, first time this has ever happened. And I hope you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy the Black Irish Band music in this original storytelling, please go to our website. There you can download our music on Amazon, Spotify, as well as you can listen to the Black Irish Music Radio on Pandora. And on YouTube, look up under my name, Patrick Karnahan, with a K. It's Karnahan. It's Scots Irish. And you can look me up there and see all our music videos. But try to support the band if you can by just downloading. Spotify is a good place to go. So without further ado, the original song. This is originally, I wrote it as a sea shanty, original song, and then turned it into a four-bitter for entertainment to tell the story about the tragedy of the Brother Jonathan steamship. Now listen to how it goes here. Agent with freight pile divine. It's a mighty coal steamer will load in tonight. Loaded at Frisco, she staggered away into the summer and far past the bay. La da 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 la da 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 da. As out near the fair along the sky it turned gray. Ship mist heavy northwesterly sway. 2 days now later, no headway at all. Struggling to crescent, west pitch and fall. Said, brother dear, brother, you're listening port side. Ain't Jordan will kill you for the reach to the high. Down in the fathoms, there's a leaf for below. And on the grave, no one will know. Seal rock the wave left behind. A tired old steamship's broken body to find. The future around her rapid as her lifeboats were rushed. The kid snapped off and her bottom was crushed. Only but seconds yet like hours a day. 19 survivors who paddled away. Under old ill-fated craft, under their motor, dreamed they were dead. Said, brother dear, brother, you're listening port side. St. George will kill you for the reefs and the high. Down in the fathoms you'll sleep far below, and on the grave no one will know. The brothers still masked. Remained such a mystery to those who would ask. Was it the greed led to Jonathan's death? Was it all man led to it? Only but seconds, like hours a day. Just when a second ship went away. Said, brother dear, brother, you're listening port side. St. George will kill you for the reason to hide. original song ballad I wrote, The Brother Jonathan. Now I did have to revise the words at the very end of the song there. An interesting story about that particular song. The Brother Jonathan was overladen with too many cargo and goods, along with coins and gold. And she tried to make a refuge port there in Crescent City, California, which is located a little north of here. And on the attempt to return back to the shoreline, she foundered there on Still Rock, which is a rock right there. If you've ever familiar with the California Oregon border there's a series of reefs out there, and that's originally why they built the lighthouses there. It sits out about 5 miles at sea, called the Point St. George Street Lighthouse. It was put there after the Brother Jonathan sunk because it was a mariner's nightmare. Well, the Brother Jonathan tried to navigate itself back to Crescent City Harbor, landed on Still Rock in a trough, and the ship went up, came down, and split the hull in two, and it was just like a ripe watermelon. Basically spilled everything out, and there's only about a half hour, and some survivors made it to shore, but the majority of the people, there were over 200, actually died there. And then the story really gets interesting. So with cold coins, shipment of that on board, then now wreck divers, locals are looking for the remains of Brother Jonathan. Year after year, whole centuries almost go by here. And finally, after almost everybody gave up on the search, there was a company, I believe, called Deep Sea Research, registered in California, went out there and they found the remains of the Brother Jonathan, and they inventoried a lot of the goods, and a lot of those gold coins that are out there now came from the Brother Jonathan. And there was a great court case between Deep Sea Research and the state of California, who had the rights to the money, the gold coins and all that. And you can read about it, just Google it and you'll find out more about it. And originally in the song, the last verse, I said, nobody has found her, but maybe someday a ghost will rise up to give her away. Well, they found her, but that was before, of course, I wrote the song. So I hope you enjoyed that little four-bitter I wrote about the Brother Jonathan. I got some rum here, and so I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Now, as an addition, a special item today, as soon as this is over with, I've attached a brand new music video, a sea shanty, singing a song I wrote called Sink 'Em Down. Now, the original version of the song was featured on the Into the Arms of the Sea album, and it was about the Alabama, which was a Confederate privateer during the Civil War. It was built basically in Liverpool, fitted with guns, and its whole operation was to disrupt Yankee commerce. And it did a pretty good job of it until the day she met her fate to the Kearsarge, which was a Union Army ship, and they battled out there on the coast of France. Now, I wrote a sea shanty, and this is in honor of the crew of the Kearsarge, which was responsible for taking down the old Alabama. So now you got to listen to the attachment coming up here shortly, and I filmed it yesterday right here on the ocean to give it a little flavor. So it's called Sink 'Em Down, brand new, never heard before. But if you like to support the Black Irish Band, please go to Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, or you can watch our YouTube videos. They're under my name, Patrick Karnahan with a K. And of course, you got to watch a million of our videos, I think, to get $10. But yeah, it all helps. It keeps the band solvent. Thursday, I'll be hosting the program, Sweet Thursday Originals. We'll have some new tunes. That's on at 8 o'clock. And then I'll be back here every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Next week, I should be joined by James Dean Nelson and maybe Dave Rainwater, the Black Irish Band, and we'll give you a nice little semi-live podcast, and I hope you enjoy it. And sea shanties are something to be amazed at. There's a lot of them out there, and it's nice to see young people getting involved and interested in them, and try to go out and sing your own. You know, everybody's able to do that these days. Have some fun. But until that day, I hope you are watertight, and I'm going to go set sail and go get me some more rum. I'm going to stay outside no longer because the winds on the ocean are just too incredibly bad. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. We have a brand new music video coming up right after this, as well as I'm going to post another favorite from our album, Into the Arms of Sea, called The Fate of Miss Gregg. A true story that takes place just a little north of where I live here, back in the 1800s, when a steamship ran aground just off Ferndale, and it tells the tragic romantic tale of a beautiful young girl who faced the ocean, and it's called The Fate of Miss Craig. So you're going to have to stay tuned to listen to all these tunes coming up shortly. And I hope you enjoy the sea shanty moment we've had today. We'll see you later, folks. I think I'm going to go outside and have some more rum and enjoy the ocean. Arr!